bohoma yatige, sameyo bohoma yatige, sameyo bohoma yatige, sameyo bohoma yatige, sameyo, 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 minangoyendo mimba, kadikando bohoma yatige, sameyo. You know, when we play these instruments sometimes, it's a time when the elders would have sat down underneath the palm tree and they've had a few kegs of palm wine. And after a few kegs of palm wine, you know, they get very emotional, the tongue gets very loose. And that's the time the elders complain. They complain of, oh, how the youth don't listen no more. The youth are lazy. And oh, they complain so much of how things are. And they'll tell amazing stories. Sameyo, sameyo, minangoyando mimba. Adikando bohoma yatige sameyo. Yeah!
Amin, amen, Allah, amin, amen, Allah, amin, amen. The sound of utterance, the vibrations and harmony rumble loosely but tight like drum skins stretched around 100-year-old bark. Sun darkened and dry strings bring a chorus of melodies. They resemble the sound of wind and seas. Some say melancholy, but I see the beauty etched on the faces of misplaced races, cultures, traditions, set on pilgrim missions to return them to their sound, their vibration, their meditation of sanity. Let it wash over thee and bury itself in the cavern of your soul. Let it flow through your veins, vessels and arteries, and merge with the hidden legacy of your history. Livicated to the indigenous sound waves, found engraved in caves, buried at sea, written in braille soundscapes, for you have to feel, not see. They speak of free minds, peace, harmony, order, the return of their native daughter and son, bringing the glow and heat from their native sun to warm every living soul to their core. They return to the ways of old, to the beginning, to their origin, to their indigenous sound waves.
Greetings everyone.
It is Nat Nai
And Sister Stella in the house.
Galaxyafiwe.
Yes, and we were just listening to Native Son, the track there called Indigenous Sound Waves, the beautiful sounds of Native Son there.
And we have a special guest with us today.
A very special guest. It is
Usifo, Jalloh, the brilliant, great griot, storyteller, and many more.
Making noise in the studio.
Thanks to you, all you spirits out there with the melanin flavor. Even those of you who do not have the melanin, but I
and listening and learning all at the same time. So it's all very complicated out here.
Well, all I can say, I'm happy it's a woman, you know. Women are designed to multitask.
I love that. Yes, appreciate the truth there.
It's true. I'm trying to do two simple things, and it's like,
No, so what we're gonna do, just to start off and kick off the ride home, is we are filming currently for our Voyage to Motherland project, as you're aware, and we just wanted to ask you a couple of questions on that. You know, our listeners should know by now about our Voyage to Motherland.
Should be well versed.
Yes, which is our journey to Africa this year to dispel the myths about Africa. We have a one-sided media in the West which portrays Africa in a really poor way, you know.
It's dismal.
And we want to change that with our vlog and our blog, writing up about the true beauty that is there and our adventures as we go across the shores. So what we want to do is just ask you 3 questions. The lovely Nat Nai is going to ask you 3 questions, and I'm going to be filming it at the same time, and that's going to be part of our vlog. So very exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, we're very excited.
Well, I'm ready. I'm right here.
Okay, so I'm doing camera job now, and Nat Nai is doing interview job now.
So, Usifo,
Yes.
what does Africa mean to you?
Wow, what a loaded question. I know when you threw me that before on email, my head almost like exploded. What does Africa mean to me?
Pow, pow, pow.
Indeed. Africa means to me the beginning. It means purity. It means the beginning of all narratives. You know, they say in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. I say in the beginning was Africa, and Africa was with God. In fact, today what we call the River Nile, starting from Ethiopia and then from Uganda coming together, used to be called the River of the Gods. It is said that when the gods all came to planet Earth, that's where they settled. That's where they replenished, refreshed themselves. So Africa means for me the beginning. In fact, if we go all the way and we examine the Yoruba people, we talk of Ile-Ife, where it all began.
No small answer. No small answer.
We need those answers. This is a workshop today, not just an interview.
Fantastic.
Workshop.
It is the beginning. Africa means the beginning. That is indeed the truth. I can back that up. I really believe that as well.
So,
Yes.
with that excellent answer, what does it mean to be an African?
What does it mean to be an African to me? It simply means, you know, I'll give a quote. It says in Creole, in Sierra Leone, in Creole, we say, know yourself not a curse. To know yourself is not an insult. What it means to be an African is to be truthful to yourself, to know yourself. Now, what does self really mean when you say yourself? Who is yourself? What is the self? It's your godness. It's your godness within you. To know yourself. When you know yourself, you understand what Africa means, and you come from there. You say you're an African. You are a god, a goddess. And if you can really grasp that, you're on your way. So what does it mean to be an African? It means know your godness. Know that you are the Alpha and the Omega.
Boy, we need to have a pull-up.
Yes, you know, rewind that,
Really?
scratch that. We are really feeling your answers. We
Yeah.
really are. I just want to say we do welcome the callers. We're going to open up the lines at 4:45. So if you can hold back from calling till that point, but we will welcome you all to call in on. And if you don't know the numbers, they're 0753 800 5634, or you can call 0798 385 2952, or you can text in 0757 222 2156. Okay, so yeah, we do welcome your calls, but at 4:45.
Yeah, so we can let our great cow footprints Usifo Jalloh really let off, you know.
Yes, would have given him that time to really let us learn.
I look forward to that. Yeah, definitely, I look forward to that.
So, third and final question
Just setting up the camera here.
is, how do you see Africa now and in the future? It was two questions, but now and in the future.
Wow. I am currently writing a piece that I call Africa. Now it is incredibly controversial, but so it is. That's what we are. I am a storyteller, and I am controversial as a storyteller. So the poem Africa looks at Africa as it is right now and looks at it in the future. So for now, I see Africa as just about turning around to kind of wake up. But it is the most dangerous period. It is a time of giving birth to a new. And when you're giving birth to new in the natural way, you don't know what's going to really come out. It might be a child that is totally disabled, handicapped, or a brilliant, wonderful, healthy child. That's
Right.
where I see Africa right now. We are very much at a crossroads, just like in the early, you see, oh God, I can't, the year has gone off my head now, when in the Berlin conference, Africa was being torn apart and being, severed and shared among Europeans. We are going through a very similar period right now. Very, very
So
similar.
the second scramble for Africa.
It is precisely what's going on. And this time the Chinese are involved. The Indians are involved, the Russians are involved, and the whole of Europe and America are all involved. That's where we're going out now. Are Africans going to wake up? And when I say Africans, I'm not just talking here of the Africans just in Africa. I'm talking Africans right across the globe. Are they really going to wake up and realize that they're being torn apart, so that we can actually give birth to a knowledgeable, a baby with more awareness? If we don't wake up, we could give birth to a really unpleasant situation. So that's where I feel we're at. I don't want to belabor the point so much, but because we still have a lot of the older generations who are still in power and who, in my opinion, are still puppets of the old colonial and neo-colonial systems. Then we have us, the younger ones, coming up with a new narrative, a new cure, a new medicine, a new vision for how Africa should go on. These old ones are preventing us from coming in and bringing in new ideas and new vision for many different ways, because over the years they have never invested in grassroots education, grassroots social care, grassroots Medicare, grassroots cultural sustenance, grassroots agriculture. They have not invested in nothing. They've taken the monies and gone abroad and invested it in cold-blooded systems, never looking at the future generation. So there is that. So you and I, when we go back to try to look at the future, there's hardly anything for us to build on top of. So we are going to lay foundation. At the same time, this system that has been tearing us apart is now big time there, because they have the money and they're going in and buying land. And I'll stress that. They're going in and they're buying land and building hotels and mining and all this different stuff. And generally, we, the young ones going in, we don't have that kind of money. And so what our people do, they sell us out of the competition altogether, sell us out of buying
There's
land.
no protection.
Absolutely. So you and I go there to buy land. We don't have the kind of money to buy, and our people just looking at money. They're not looking at us as their own.
And legacy.
They're looking at the immediate money that comes in. And what they're not realizing is that, like South Africa, like Zimbabwe, like Kenya, like Mozambique, and so on and so forth, they're coming in for the land, all these nationals, as they want to call themselves. So that's, for me, is what's happening now. So does the future hold? I guess it is still comme ci, comme ça.
Comme ci, comme ça. So basically, it's at a critical point now, and it can go either way.
It is very much, there's a saying among the Yoruba people. They say, when your house is on fire, you don't go chasing rats. And that's exactly where we are at. Our house is on fire.
But people are not aware that their house is on fire.
It's even worse when you don't know you don't know.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
That's worse. When you don't know, you don't know.
So this is what creates the crossroads. There's two systems. So you have the younger lot who have a lot of passion for Africa.
Yes.
And we do meet them, but
Yes.
it's about, as you said, they haven't got the means to tap in to investing in Africa.
Yep.
And some of them, like you've just mentioned, aren't even aware of the potential there. They haven't been given the access to see the potential in Africa.
Precisely. They've not been given. You see, it's about narrative. You see, the success or failure of a person or a nation is entirely, totally dependent on the narrative that they believe, which has been usually is imposed from without. You see, I usually say, if you don't go from within, you will go without.
Right.
And literally, you will go without.
That's it.
Yeah, it's what's happening. It's what's been happening.
Precisely. We've been going without all the time and not looking within.
That's right. That's right. I think we may have a caller on the line, but if we can ask all the callers to hold back till 4:45, so that we can open up the lines at that point. But yes, if you don't look within, then you're going to go without.
Precisely.
That's right. There's no
Precisely.
substance there, is there?
Precisely.
And that's again that famous saying Sankofa.
Yep.
So going back to understand
Yes.
how to move forward.
Yes. Yes, I mean, I'm doing a radio program at the moment in educating our children in Sierra Leone about,
Beautiful.
especially this post-Ebola issue. And we're doing a series of radio programs which is addressing not only hygiene, but also things like teenage pregnancies and so on.
Excellent.
And that is happening. And I told the producers, I said, don't ask me to go and teach our children how to wash their hands or how to clean themselves. They know that. I said, what we need to do is remind them.
Right.
And there's a big difference between reminding somebody and actually, saying you're going to tell them or teach them.
I
To teach
understand.
them, it means they don't have any power. When you're reminding them, you remind them already. You already have it.
Tapping into what they already know
Yeah, exactly.
within.
Exactly. And that, for me, is the kind of teaching that we need to be giving to our people so that they feel like, am I this strong?
It's reclaiming that power that has been so cleverly taken away, from the people
Precisely.
themselves. So it's reclaiming that power and getting them to wake up to that again.
Yes.
And not be expecting help from everyone else.
Exactly.
We've got to do for ourselves.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's correct.
So yeah, we're gonna flow this organically because the people need to know who our cow foot prince is.
That's right. Who are you?
Aside from the great vast wisdom, where did it come from?
Well, I am Usifo Jalloh, the cow foot prince, which I know you've already introduced to our guest. And I am, I see myself, I am a storyteller. I am an educator. I am a motivator. I am an architect for social change and cultural awakening. That is who I am. And I use my storytelling in all of these different, hats that I've just mentioned to you. I've been performing as a storyteller generally right across Britain, right across Europe, and many other countries around the world for the past 25 years.
Wow.
Wow, 25 years.
Yes, that's correct.
That is passion. That is real love for the art form, isn't it?
Well, I tell you what, I'll share this on your radio here, and I've not shared this on radio before. This will be my first time to share this. Yes,
Yes,
it is
we have an exclusive here.
I'll share this, and I hope the listeners listen very well. And our black, okay, let me don't use the word black here, but let me say our young people in general must listen to this. Every single one of us, before we are born, according to the Yoruba Ifa, divination, or the Yoruba traditional religion, let me say spiritual belief, let me don't say religion. They say that when you are born, just before you are born, the last thing you choose before you come to this planet Earth, the last thing you choose is your Ori, which means you choose your head, your Ori.
Your Ori.
Yes, your Ori, ego. So you choose your head before you come out. Now, what does that really mean? When you think, what does that mean? You choose your Ori. It means that before you are born, everything else is created. Oludumare, God Almighty, the spirits of ancients, they allow you to choose what kind of path you want to come and take once you're born into the planet Earth. That's your responsibility. That's your choice. So you choose your Ori, your head. Now, you can interpret that to be your talent or your gift or your knowledge. That is what you will choose. It's been given to you from the divine, and you are born with that knowledge. As you grow older, you will nurture that talent. It could be a musician, a dancer, a singer, a researcher, a radio DJ, a speaker, an educator. It could be many, many, many different things. But here's the key now. For what purpose do you choose that Ori? For what purpose are you gifted with that talent? And there's only one purpose. That one purpose is to be custodians of the planet Earth.
I love that.
What does it mean to be custodian?
Mean it, yes, mean it. Break it down for us.
Break it down. Yeah. To look after every other living being on earth. If you want to prove me wrong, any listening out there, you want to prove me wrong, check your very Bible. Check your very Quran. Check any of these spiritual books you care to read. It will tell you, take dominion over everything. Look after the earth. Go forth and replenish and multiply. That's the first commandment it gives to us. It means take care of it. Work the field. Work the land. So it means we've got to take care of it. Take care of one another. Whatever we can do to make each other's lives better, happier, that is what our ultimate purpose is. Period. When you lose sight of that purpose, your talent, your gift will drive you insane. And I can give you tons of examples. I can give you Elvis Presley, gifted with a wonderful singing voice and so on. He lost sight of the purpose of being and pleasing human beings and helping them. So he got involved in drugs. Look at Muhammad Ali. His gift, a boxer. He came out and he was prepared to put his life down for the purpose of standing up for justice.
Yes.
Today, Muhammad Ali is the most popular man on the planet Earth, still alive. And we can check it all. Anybody, you have a gift that has been given to you. When you lose sight of what your purpose is, that gift will drive you insane. I remember Fela Kuti talking about this as well. You see, check everybody. Bob Marley, you name them. They live for eternity. How? Why? Because the gift that they have chosen to come with here on planet Earth, they have used it very well to make sure they make humanity better.
Okay, that is a brilliant answer. We've got a caller that has broken our rules, but nevertheless, bless. Greetings.
Greetings, caller.
Oh, yeah, good evening. Could I just say hello to all the guests in the studio?
Yes.
The brother that is speaking, brother, you're so right. You know what I'm saying? When you say love everything on talent, in the word means one love. That's what it means.
The words, which words?
It means one love.
It means one love.
Which word? Which word? I'm sorry. Because I didn't have the headphone on. Yes?
To love everything in the world, yeah?
One love. Absolutely right. One love. That's correct.
Exactly. That's what it means. And it's history that is calling us black. Don't you realize that black people, we have so many different color of shade?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? And I think she needed help. You understand what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, she's disrespecting the ancestry. You understand what I'm saying?
Ah, okay. I'm trying to understand that line. I'm trying to understand now where you're going with that. Who's disrespecting who? I'm sorry about this, but I need to get it clearly before I can respond.
I know she's disrespecting. Yeah, it's this history that is making so much money, coloring herself black. So I'm saying, yeah, she's disrespecting the ancestry. You know,
Oh, was this the show that was just before us, the Revolutionary Sisters?
you understand what I mean? Anyway, bless her.
Bless up. Thanks for your
All
call,
right.
Sistren. All right, if I can ask the callers to hold back for another
20 minutes.
5 minutes or 20 minutes so that we can listen to Usifo Jalloh.
Yeah, we want to hear the wisdom being bestowed upon us.
Okay, so we were just talking about the what were you just saying?
I was talking about the idea of about how the talent that we've been blessed with.
That's
and
right.
how we need to use it, or as we say, you lose it.
Yeah,
I really
purpose.
believe in that.
It was getting to the point of yourself, right?
Yes. And I think what I'm saying is that myself, I am acutely aware of what I am blessed with. But it took me some time to get to this point where I now first acknowledge what I have been blessed with and then begin to use what I have been blessed with. And for many different reasons that has happened to me over the years. Now, many Africans would agree with me on this when I say that the educational paradigm that we have within Africa is set to say if you're a doctor, if you're an architect, if you're a lawyer, now, my child is studying something. You're a drummer. What is this now? A drummer? Please give us Jerry. We put you to school to go and drum. What kind of waste of time is that? Now, I have a brother, talented musician who works with me, who called Saidi Kanda. Saidi Kanda, I was listening to him telling his story. His father broke his finger at about the age of 10 or 11. Broke his finger because he was playing drums.
Oh, man. That's a
Now-
disrespect to the gift.
Right. You see what I'm saying? Now, today, Saidi Kanda tours around the world, plays with people like Grace Jones, and
Oh,
plays
wow.
with huge people all around the world. Amazing musician. But what I'm saying is that we all have that. But the system that we have grown up in, that is set up very, very much the Western type of system, has not acknowledged these kind of talents that we have. If we go back to the old traditional system that we have in Africa, all of these talents were all seen as a blessing.
Right.
And
Yes.
it's interesting
That makes
because,
sense.
you know, the whole concept of tradition, we can get misguided into thinking because our lifespan is so short that because our parents and the grandparents followed a certain way of living, that is the be-all and end-all, when actually if you go further back in history, you find actually, no, things are far more open than one might actually envisage.
Yes. Like I said, the more I research, the more I open up my mind to what we had before, and that's a very important thing. We've got to open up our minds to what we had before, to what we are inside. You know, like I said, if you don't go from within, you'll go from without. So when we begin to go from within, you know what I'm saying? When we begin to go from within, the answers are there. It is so simple. Look, in English is a very interesting language. They give you the word begin, or they give you the word before, or they give you the word become. Think of that word, become.
Become.
Be, it will come. If you are not being,
It won't come.
it will not come. And I couldn't care what it is you might think about. You got to be. The creator does not make mistakes when the creator has created in a particular way, and you have a particular talent. There is a reason. The worm does not run to become a dog.
No, the worm
You see what I'm
does not
saying? A
run at all.
pigeon. There are many birds. All birds, all fly. But the pigeon does not care to become a chicken.
Never.
Nor does the eagle care to become a falcon.
No.
We're all human beings with incredible talents. When you begin to become aware of what your true talent is, wake up to it, acknowledge what it is. Of course, there'll be oppositions because the paradigm that's been set for us is to say, go to school, get a good degree, come out of that degree, find a job.
Yes.
That's it. We're not all allowed to live out our true dreams,
Purpose,
our own purpose. Everything's enforced
Because
upon us.
because
an
when
ideal
you
that
do,
is not ours,
when you
our
do
own.
live your trueness, your being, yes, your being.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
When you truly be that, you are free. Life is easy. Everything comes. That's why it says become.
I hear that.
Behave. Break it down. Have. When you be, you'll have everything. Being is the thing that many of us do not really experience. Many of us think we're human doings.
Yes.
We are human beings.
That's right. I think
And
this can relate to everyone talks about us as a race where we're suffering, and we are doing stuff that we're told to do. We're behaving in ways that are not us.
Precisely.
So that is the problem.
It is a very big issue. Look here. I know many sisters are going to really maybe scream to, oh, there he goes again. But hey, you put the hair on that is not yours. It's a dead person's hair or something in your head. Guess what? You're going to behave like somebody who's dead.
That's serious. On a spiritual level.
On a very spiritual level. Again, the Creator has not made mistakes. When we have the hair that we have on our head, it's no mistake. When we have the complexion we have, melanin that we have on our body here is for a very specific reason. It is the completion of everything else. Everything is inside the body, and then you have the melanin that completes everything around. You take that off, you lose rhythm. When you lose rhythm, you go out of sync. When you go out of sync, you malpractice, you malfunction.
Right.
So do you use your storytelling as a way to help people to engage with this idea of being and becoming
Very much.
who they are?
Very much. Otherwise, I would not do storytelling. If my storytelling is not about educating and empowering, therefore, I would not do it. I travel around the world. I'm about to go to Colombia and Costa Rica, yes. I'm about to go there to do a tour there. Last year, I was in Mexico and in Argentina. And I use my stories to educate people. It's there, and now, I had to go to my village every year to sit with the elders and listen to them tell me.
Your village is where? In
Sierra Leone, the place is called Kamakoni, which is in a region called Kamakwie, which is in the north of Sierra Leone, and this is the village in the village in the village.
A village that
God
will be
willing,
visited.
we can be there one
Village
day.
we will be visited.
We want to be there.
We
Well,
want to
will be
experience.
Well, definitely. Well, every year I have a festival. I mean, people who are listening and for yourselves as well who are touring, every year I've got a festival there called Mambena Fest. And Mambena Fest is a festival where I'm using the culture to stimulate education, you see, so that the children, I have a phrase that I say, to be educated within the context of your culture. It's very important. I'll demonstrate it to you what I did once when I went there a couple of years ago for the festival, for Mambena Fest. I asked the children to count up to 10 in English, and they went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. Of course, I asked them, what is 10? And it took a while before one of them came up and said, 10 is 1 and 0. I said, what is 11? 1 on 1. What is 12? 1 on 2. Now they could count that. They could see that. All right. So I said, ask them to count in our own language, Limba. So they went hante, kai, katati, kanang, sohi, soy hante. Now let me go back. Hante is 1. Yeah?
Hante.
So they go, hante, yes, in Limba, hante is 1. So they go hante, kai, katati, kanang, sohi. Then they go sohante, sonkai, sonkatati, sonkanang. So what I'm saying is that in the Limba counting, they go 5, then they go 5 and 1, 5 and 2.
Oh,
Yes,
wow.
yes,
Right.
yes,
In the
yes,
English
yes.
counting, it goes up to, if you like, 10, or they
Yeah.
say 1 and
Goes
0, then
again.
1 and 1, 1 and 2.
Yeah.
You go 20, 2 and 1. In the Limba counting, it's all in blocks of 5s. And the
Interesting.
teachers in the school looked at me thinking, my goodness, we've never thought of it like that. Well, no wonder some of our children struggle with mathematics.
Right.
Because if you don't know the science of it within your own context, how then can you understand it within the context of somebody else's own? This is what Mambena Fest is about. So I go in there and I use storytelling. I use all the cultures which has been dying out there. I'm bringing them all back. In fact, the instrument I'm holding here is all part of that.
Yeah, this
And getting-
instrument. We've got to,
Yeah,
we've
what
got
is
to
this
go
instrument?
into that. We've
Yeah,
got
we
to. If you're we've got to be your eyes. So Nat's going to just describe it for us.
Well, it's, you know what? Because I need to come up with some articulation. It's got the vibrancy and the sounds
Beautiful.
you might expect.
Well,
from
what
Africa.
it is, this instrument, it's a very, very old instrument which I used to listen to when I was a child in Sierra Leone, and it was one of the instruments which was used to tell stories. So my uncles will tell me stories playing this one. There's another version we call the kondi, which is much smaller than this. This is called kongoma. In Gambia, they call it bongo. In Guinea, they call it bongo. If you go to East Africa, the name changes to things like mbira and so on.
And it's the same instrument, well, based on the same.
Yeah, based on the same
design.
concept of having, it's made out of this one is made out of the calabash fruit.
Okay.
Now, many West Africans will know what a calabash
Yes.
is.
Yes.
Yeah, right. It's made out of the calabash, and then we have these. Well, I've used hacksaw blades here, which have been made very safe, and then there's a plywood put on top of the calabash fruit, and they cover it, so halfway everything is all covered. We have a hole in it, and if we can, listeners, if you can imagine the way a guitar is made.
That's it. That's what it reminds me of. It's almost
Right.
Yeah.
guitar based,
Right.
but like a banjo bass.
Like a banjo bass,
the round
exactly.
bottom
It's
at the end,
without
but really big.
the stick part.
Without the-
without the stick.
part.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you can imagine that, listeners, that's what we're talking about here. And so instead of strings going across, I've got 4 hacksaw blades coming across the part where the hole is on the guitar. And that is what I just very gently flick like this to get the sounds.
Yes.
Yeah, so do you mind, Usifo, to show us a little demonstration, a storytelling demonstration? Introducing Usifo Jalloh, the Cowfoot Prince, on the Stella and Nat Nai Ride Home show.
Galaxyafiwe.
The only Dean Brave version station. 102.5 FM.
Hey.
Sameyo, mina ngoyando mimpa, adinka ando bo mayatige sameyo. Sameyo, mina ngoyando mimpa, adinka ando bo mayatige sameyo. Bohoma yatige, sameyo, bohoma yatige, sameyo, bohoma yatige, sameyo, bohoma yatige, sameyo, 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 mina ngoyando mimpa, kadinka ando bohoma yatige, sameyo. You know, when we play these instruments, sometimes it's a time when the elders would have sat down underneath the palm tree and they've had a few kegs of palm wine. And after a few kegs of palm wine, you know, they get very emotional. The tongue gets very loose. And that's the time the elders complain. They complain of, oh, how the youth don't listen no more. The youth are lazy. And oh, they complain so much of how things are. And they'll tell amazing stories. Sameyo, Sameyo, minangoyondo mimpa, adinka ando bo mayatige Sameyo.
Yeah! What?
Wow, we was just vibes in here. We was just vibes in.
You best be vibes in at home too. How could you not?
That
If
energy.
you're cooking, cleaning, getting home from work, driving. You know when you're driving, he's like bouncing out to that.
Really wanted to get into the story of what the elders were you know.
You know, that's what it's about, isn't it? You know, getting us back into ourselves. And Kongoma is one of these instruments, you know.
Kongoma.
And that's what I'm about teaching. I love to teach young people to get back into our culture. We have it all.
And you're described as a griot, is that correct?
No, I do not describe myself as a griot. A griot is a very different thing, a different title altogether. I am a storyteller.
Okay.
A griot is a historian.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, you see, because there's different types of stories.
Okay.
There's comedy stories, there is your own personal self story, but then you have the griots who are historians. They carry the history of the nation. And traditionally, they used to be based in the king's compound, if you go back to ancient Mali days. And if you go all the way back to the biblical times, King David was a griot.
Okay.
He sat in King Saul's palace. And when King Saul was in any trouble, if anybody knows their Bible very well, you'll know what I'm talking about. When King Saul was in any trouble in his mind, he will call the young David to come and play what they call the lyre. And the lyre, right, was actually what they call the krar in Ethiopia. Okay. That's what he will play. You know, English would call it harp. The same instrument has moved all through to West Africa.
It's evolved, yes.
Evolved, and today we call it the kora.
Okay.
Carrying the same function of being in the king's compound.
Fantastic.
Yeah, there's an artist I know of called Sona.
Yep, Sona Jobate.
Jobate, yes.
Yep, Sona Jobate, Sekou Keita. They have carried the tradition. They have the name and they carry the tradition from centuries and centuries
and that's
back.
Passed down.
Yeah.
So you're different. You are a storyteller.
Yes, I am a storyteller.
But not history teller.
I am not necessarily, yes, I can tell history on a few things, but I am a storyteller, and there's a distinct difference. Yes.
So, the lines are now officially open. I know people just want to be calling. The gentleman who called just a minute ago, if you can call again, whoever wants to call. We've got 15 minutes. Oh, well, there it is.
There it is. Yes, I know you must be desperate to speak to our special guest today, sending these powerful stories through the waves.
Greetings. Caller?
Okay, let's try and set up the calls. But meantime, we can carry on with this, and we can listen to you all day. To
well, definitely, I think, like I said, one of my goals, if you like, in getting our young people to be in themselves again, is using these stories in a contemporary way.
Right.
You know, so it is not uncommon for me to tell a story and then I include McDonald's or I include...
Don't include McDonald's. But I know what you mean.
You know what I mean?
Something that they can identify it with and then associate it with and then get the point.
And get the point,
the moral
exactly.
of the story.
Right.
Yeah.
You see, as a storyteller, you've got to know how to build a bridge to reach your audience. You see, they say that stories are the palm oil with which truth is swallowed.
Nice. Makes it easier to go down.
Absolutely.
And accept.
Right. So
Yeah.
we've got to find a way to use your story to reach the young people. There are three things with stories. Three things. Number one is getting your listeners to listen.
Sorry, Usifo. We just want to see. Hold the fort. Have we got the caller?
Yeah, are you there? You okay, yeah?
Yes.
Greetings, caller. Nice to hear from you. How are you doing?
Yeah, what is that instrument is playing? In Yoruba, we call it agon.
Diago?
Agon.
That's correct, because in Yoruba, you do have a much bigger one than the one we have. You have it like in a box, don't you?
Of course. I mean, you mentioned this. Most of our keys say like Oyo, Ogun.
Yes.
And a lot of the traditional rulers in Lagos, we use the talking drum to call our elders. The talk is right popular. And then in America, it's only Curtis Mayfield. If you listen to Curtis before, who's no longer with us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you look at the group, the impressions, I mean, you see Curtis Mayfield. He uses the talking drum a lot in his music. So.
Mm-hmm.
Stevie Wonder.
Yes.
Stevie Wonder as well is a wicked, because he did a track with King Sunny Ade.
Mm-hmm.
Together. He's a wicked, even though he's partially impaired, he can't see properly, but he can play the talking drum. I've actually seen him in section with Roy Ayers and Fela Kuti, who's Roy Ayers, a friend of Fela Kuti.
Mm-hmm.
And then the vibraphone player, so
definitely, brother, you are definitely right. I think talking about bringing in the talking drum in there is another key instrument in an instrument that is used for of course for communication. I mean, it's an instrument that can either praise you or insult you. It's a powerful instrument, and I think you Yoruba people particularly, you have an amazing heritage, artistic heritage. Of course, you probably know the story of the Benin Kingdom before and what it was before. So you have a heritage that goes so far back, very, very far back, because your creation story with the Ifa creation story you have, if you follow it properly, it is closely akin to that which is written in the Bible or even in the Quran.
Yeah. You're a poet, Jalloh. You've heard of Wole Soyinka, haven't you? Wole Soyinka.
Wole Soyinka inspired me when I was probably 12 years old.
And it's funny you say that, because today he's been given at the Oxford Union, he's been given the Chancellor of Poets, He's been given the title of the professor. So.
Yes. Wole Soyinka, like Chinua Achebe, like Aiko Yama and all these amazing writers, they have been right at the forefront in telling our narratives, in telling our stories.
And you can also put Maya Angelou, who died last year, in that category, because I really rate her. Even Nina Simone to a certain extent as well,
Yes.
I've actually met her in Lagos. I mean, she's obviously passed away as well.
Yes.
In Lagos about 20 years ago. Very, very inspirational lady,
Maya Angelou, you met her?
Yes, no. Nina Simone.
Oh, you met Nina Simone?
Yes, in Lagos. She was in Ghana, living in Ghana. She was in
wow.
country as well, Sierra Leone. She frequented many places in the West Africa.
What an honor.
Indeed, what an honor. You see, these people, or shall I say, these souls, if you like, were bold enough to connect themselves to themselves. You understand me? So for them going to Africa and using African music, many African cultures within their own music was just the most natural thing for them to do.
Yes. Anyway, thanks anyway, yeah.
Give thanks, caller.
Thank you.
Give thanks for your contribution.
Okay, cheers, man, yeah.
Cheers, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, it must have been so amazing. But like you say, they embrace self, and you can see that with someone like Nina Simone's performances. You know, she's just lived out on the stage through the music, through the words, through the poetry, and you connect with that as a fellow human being. You're going to connect with that, and that's why she had that far reach with everyone. And
Yes.
that's what you have as well. Is this just that because you've really, as you said, gone within. So you're not going without, you know, and everyone else is not going without. We have another caller on the line.
Hello.
Greetings.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How do you do? Good afternoon.
Yeah, I was happy that the storyteller, sorry, I've forgotten the name.
Usifo Jalloh.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, I was very happy that you touched on, initially when you started, you touched on us waking up.
Yes, yes,
People.
yes.
And I think I was very happy when you touched on that. I believe that we've actually woken up now.
Mm-hmm.
I do know that 30 years ago, I mean, we didn't have this narrative in this country. Well, in most part of the Western world, including the West Indies, there wasn't any big narrative about Africa. But now, you could see the narrative about Africa simply because how Africa is rising. So we seem to have catch up. In fact, the rest of the world caught up a long time ago.
The rest of the world has caught up, and you know, it's an interesting point that you made, Usifo, about the crossroads, though, about which way is it going to go. You know, how did you feel about that, caller?
Yeah, what I believe is that it's positive because now the kids coming up, well, I don't think I need to use the word kids, but
we know what you mean, it's just
they seem very, very vexed and they know what's going on. The main thing that's helped us now is the social media.
That's right.
Internet has sort of propped up a lot of things. I mean, if we take even brutalities in America, 20 years ago, nobody would know of Michael Brown or anybody else who was killed because it's been done and, you know, swept under the carpet. But now you do anything and then you worldwide everybody seems to hear about it instantly. Now, my point is that in regards to the Chinese and everybody else investing in Africa, I believe that they don't do it individually. See, what we need to emphasize is that we can't individually go there and invest because we haven't got the capital as storytellers. Well, as we discussed earlier, I mean, it's next to impossible. What the Chinese and the Indians do, because 4 years ago I was in Ghana, I went with a group to see if we could actually tender for certain things. And we noticed that the Asians, what they do is the poor people in the rural areas in Asia, they put their money together, find a fund manager, and then, you know, like find a nice name like Churchill Fund Management or and they represent them. You know,
right.
They go to these countries, they look big because it's a management, it's a finance management representing the poor people.
Oh, I
You get me?
see.
So it's not like an individual going out there to invest. And this is what we need to do. What Galaxy Radio needs to do now is, I mean, the de-brainwashing needs to also include business and finance segment where you need to find someone to teach our youth how to invest collectively, not individually. Because individually is very, very difficult, but they should come together and form little groups that could go in there and invest collectively. If they do that, then people can start moving into it. The only Africans who can go in there now are people with, say, big corporations, and even those ones are like multinational groups that have also got like pensions behind them. You know?
Okay, yeah. That's a great point that you make, and it is about, you know, understanding the economical impact that we can have by, you know, working
United.
together.
My dear brother, what's your name, please?
Victor.
Victor, you're making such an important point there. Because why? And I'll just quickly run through it, just because I know time is always the thing that pushes us crazy. But during the festival that I do in Sierra Leone, which, you know, the Mambina Fest, I've been going there for the past 5 years, every year doing the festival. And during that time, it has helped me to understand what's happening with our people. You understand? They don't really connect with what's happening in the outside world business-wise. They are just in this small cocoon. And so when other people come from out, they see them as big, and then they just give them whatever it is they want to give to them because some money has come in. And they still cannot connect the value of what they have to the rest of the world. And so there's another educational level that needs to happen over there, where we begin to educate them about how valuable their own resources are. You know, for example, one of the themes that I dealt with in Sierra Leone on my festival was eat what you grow, grow what you eat. Many of them, I had so much argument with the teachers because they could not understand when I gave, as a refreshment, I gave ginger beer. They said to me, why are you giving ginger beer to the children? I should give them Coca-Cola bottled drinks. And I said, you guys have lost the point altogether. It was a big argument. This argument went on for 2 years. So you see what I'm saying? And when they're not understanding the value of what they have, you and I, we have no head in, because it simply means they don't value you and me. They still value the thing again from without.
Yeah, I think the reason why that is because, I mean, we never own our resources. If you look at most African countries, we never created those countries in the first place. Mm-hmm. And the presidents we've got there now are an extension of the governors that were there before pre-independence.
That's a really key point, Colin. But I'm sorry to rush you off the line with that one, but it is so key and very important what you're saying. We do need to start seeing the value as a people in our continent and what we have access to, our resources, and stop seeing from without. But thank you so much for calling in, and do call in next time.
Thank you so much, brother.
Blessings.
Blessings.
So the situation is at hand. We have another interview with the wonderful Andre Brght, dancer, architect, entrepreneur.
Yeah, and he's
5,
fellow Sierra Leonean.
And he's a fellow Sierra Leonean. That makes 3 of us.
I feel a bit on my own, you know, the only Nigerian.
We're all African up
in here.
Yeah,
look,
Can I just tell people where I'm performing, in case people want to find out?
I was going to say, you know, like, you know what, we should really have had 2 hours for you, really and truly, because Usifo, you've got so much wisdom. Anytime you want to come down, come true. I understand that you stay tuned for the big news, but you might actually come with your own show at some stage. Yes, that would be a blessing for Galaxy.
That would be amazing.
That would be a blessing for all the listeners, because we do need storytelling on a regular basis, because the art is very important.
Well, at least I think I've just been invited to be here on a Monday. Monday program.
Yes,
so
we witnessed to that.
Dr.
Abu.
Yeah, so hopefully Monday evenings listeners can tune in to hear some stories. But in case anybody want to follow what I'm doing, www.Usifo Jalloh. My Usifo is spelled Usifu. Jalloh is JALLOH.com, usifojalloh.com. That's my website. I have a show coming up this Saturday.
Fantastic.
And it's for families, and in fact the deal is buy 1 ticket and you get 1 ticket free.
Awesome.
Anybody
and they can find that on your website?
They can find it on my website, or they go to www.justfestival Westminster. They go there. The show is called Africa's Cowfoot. Can't miss that.
Okay. I hope yes.
Yeah, so you're welcome to jam with us if you want. If you need to go, we understand.
Yeah, we'd like you to stay. And listen to your fellow brother, Andre Brght, talk about his adventure that he's doing with his business. And then, we can round up to all together as family. That would be really, really beautiful.
That would be wonderful if you can, if you're able.
All right. Well, I have a meeting in Brixton at 6 o'clock, but maybe I've got time. I don't know what the time is now.
Okay, it's 5,
yeah.
so it looks like that's not going to happen. But definitely next time, we'll have a longer period.
Yes, please. Thank you so very much for inviting me in here.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
We need
to amazing.
We need to reason off this.
But
Yes.
yeah.
It's been beautiful. Thank you so much. Give
Yeah,
thanks.
Bless up Usifo Jalloh,
right.
the great
Okay,
storyteller.
make sure you follow him on are you
Twitter,
on
on Twitter at Benjo41, BENJO41. Or you just put my name, YouTube. My name is there. Everything.
Yes,
things
I've
will come
seen
up.
some wonderful clips on the YouTube actually. So
Thank you.
give thanks.
Yes.
I'm just going to put a little music on. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Amongst war, they have dreams, but the dreams are like they don't have a chance to become because of their circumstance and the environment. It's like I vision butterflies flying around them, carrying their dreams, their dreams, their dreams, their dreams.
In the depths of the sun, plays a child with a gun in this grey landscape of war. In the depths of the soil of the heart lives a vision, the dreams to reach the sky. As butterflies carrying their dreams on wings, from dust to sky, mind open wide, sunlight reveals the light. Inside, hope is near. When you dream, you can touch it with your fingers. It's closer than it seems in these gallery of dreams, gallery of dreams.
Your mind is a gallery of dreams. Every single painting a vision supreme, vividly serene. Envision the scene beyond concrete skies. Our dreams will arise. Gradually through time, we fail to recognize the talent within, right in front of our eyes, flourishing inside. Please let them sing. Illuminate your being like flowers in the spring.
As butterflies carrying their dreams on wings, from dust to sky, mind open wide, sunlight reveals the light. Inside, hope is near. When you dream, you can touch it with your fingers. It's closer than it seems in these gallery of dreams, gallery of dreams.
I write for those that are too scared to dream, lacking ambition with low self-esteem. Some won't believe what one day you'll achieve. Put doubt in yourself until you retrieve from the path that you're in. And if you fall down, you have to rise up again. It's time for a change. Shake off your fears and replace it with faith. Strive for perfection at your own pace.
As butterflies carrying their dreams on wings, from dust to sky, mind open wide, sunlight reveals the light. Inside, hope is near. When you dream, you can touch it with your fingers. It's closer than it seems in these gallery of dreams, gallery of dreams. The heavens open wide and draw you a picture in the sky of your life in the dream. Look beyond the clouds and you'll see it.
A vision so vivid and true, you can almost grasp it. The wisdom lies deep inside of you. All you have to do is search deep in your soul. Envision your path fully taking control.
It's as real as you feel. Your higher potential you must reveal. Wake and believe, keep on trying. See the dream alive and keep on flying.
Learn from mistakes, there's no time to waste. Accept who you are, cause that's who God made. It's time to embrace the talent that you're blessed with. Strive for the best, don't accept nothing less.
As butterflies carrying their dreams on wings, from dust to sky, mind open wide, sunlight reveals the light. Inside, hope is near. When you dream, you can touch it with your fingers. It's closer than it seems in these gallery of dreams, gallery of dreams.
Greetings, greetings, greetings. That was Native Son, Gallery of Dreams. Usifo Jalloh, the Cowfoot Prince, is making his exit. Thank you, sir, for your wonderful contribution to our show. And blessings. Peace.
Peace. That was the best. Okay, so wonderful track there, Gallery of Dreams by Native Son. Shout out to Native Son, a wonderful band. While we just try and get hold of Andre Brght on the line, we're just going to go through some shout outs. Shout outs to Black Study Group, Mary Bell Gam, Natalie Evans, and running and all the members that are on Black Study Group, keeping it going, keeping it what it is. Black Study Group is a group that looks into our history and tries to empower people through the knowledge of self. So as we've all been eliminated from the history books, or they attempt to eliminate us from the history that we learn at schools, we're trying to give that access to our boys and girls, our men and women. I think Andre is back.
Andre is here.
Fantastic. Andre, how are you? You know, really excited to hear about what you're doing. And yeah, if you could just start off, just give us a little backdrop, who you are. Yeah.
Okay. I guess in short, I was born in Sierra Leone. I came here when I was maybe about 5, 6, that kind of age. Living in Birmingham first, and kind of grew up in Birmingham, then Reading, went to Loughborough to do an undergrad in architectural engineering, then did a master's in sustainable architecture in Cardiff, and then at the same time I kind of had dance as another profession, so I was kind of juggling the two.
So the dance was alongside the architecture?
Yeah, it sounds funny, right?
It's different. It's different.
Yeah, it's definitely. But it kind of kept me balanced as well, I found. Because it meant that, because I find I'm quite academic but creative as well. So.
Well, yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, with the storyteller that was just on, Usifo Jalloh, you know, he was talking about our purpose and being born, oh gosh, I hope I'm saying it right, with the Ori, and we come out, we choose which head we come out with. And that's our purpose. So you obviously were, you know, blessed as a creative being, right?
Yeah, definitely. Creative is definitely the word I'd use. The thing is, the more I do it, I realize that, I mean, some people call the architecture side of things academic in that sense, but it's just as creative as anything else, really, because
it shapes the world around us, right? Architecture, that's a lot of...
around you. And
yeah.
Just finding a solution to a problem, really, that's all it is. So, more creative, the better.
Yeah.
It just means another outlet for me.
And so, and you have to be quite very visual with that, right?
Incredibly visual.
Yeah. That's what it...
Yeah, I guess it's one of the things, one of the parts that people can see quite visually, and you live in, and especially in my field, which is sustainability, it's not... A lot of people have the misconception it's just about environment, which is a third of it, I guess you could say, but it's also about the economic and social side. So from anything from what colors do you paint the walls to make you feel happy in the morning to how affordable the house is, depending on how you build it. So,
okay.
Yeah.
No, it's amazing. I mean, people, you know, this is important stuff for people that are looking to build in Africa. These are the type of people that you need to know. People who have...
Yeah, that's one of my personal things to do in the future, because that's partly why I'm doing it in the first place, because I saw my sustainability was the module I really found interested in undergrad, and that's why I did it in masters. But the main reason was because back home we don't really explore it to its potential, I don't feel.
Sustainability, so that's just for the audience listening, that's kind of looking at is it looking at renewables? I don't really. How do you break that down?
So, I mean, you have different aspects of it. So sustainability is economic, environmental, and social. So if you're looking at environmental, that's probably the one people are mostly know about. So that's renewable resources like wind, solar panels, that kind of thing, in terms of how to supply the demand for energy or anything like that.
So what do you think of Akon? Sorry to cut.
Yeah, no, go for it.
You think that's a positive move for the continent?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the thing is, I personally, I think it's a good move on a lot of accounts, because me personally, I wasn't necessarily an Akon fan per se, but I appreciate anyone who's going to put their resources to good use. And what he's done is really helpful in terms of impacting, not just in terms of giving energy, but giving education and giving the capability for them to do it themselves. So he's obviously worked with governments, using the local labor to be able to implement these energy solutions that he's come up with. So I think it's a great thing, and I think anyone who has the ability to give back definitely should explore it.
Should do it. Yeah.
It's easy to get into the habit of feeding back into yourself. So we think to yourself, okay, so I've got this new job, which means I need to get a new house, I need to all this kind of stuff, which is great. But I think any opportunity where you can give back, not necessarily in monetary forms, all the time, but even in terms of knowledge, so someone else can pick it up.
Right, great one.
And ideas, intellectual, not necessarily property per se, but intellectual, just power, knowledge, that kind of thing. So I think it's really important. And what he's done is inspire others. So he's got media attention at a relatively low, local level, but it's at a level of people who are conscious of the impact that he's caused. So I have no doubt that that's going to inspire other people to do others.
Right. And that ties into sustainability. And actually, that ties into what you're saying. Our previous guest, Usifo Jalloh, is a storyteller from Sierra Leone as well, actually. We're having a little bit of a Sierra Leonean day today. He was talking about essentially our purpose on this planet is to actually do stuff be custodians, is the word he used, custodians for the earth and better it.
Yeah.
And as an African, that is our purpose for Africa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think a lot of us, I don't know, I feel like at the moment we're kind of having almost like a renaissance of black minds, if you will. We're kind of, because I know a lot of people around me are trying to give back right now, which I think is great, because growing up is the complete opposite. Because I was born there, and I saw a lot of people who did have the knowledge, did have the expertise, would be the ones who just left, which meant that they called it the brain drain. So what was left was people who were strong-willed but didn't have the resources or knowledge to be able to do
right.
as much as we would have if we'd stayed. And the thing is, you'd leave with good intentions. You leave with a concept of getting even more knowledge and come back and make a difference, but then that doesn't necessarily happen, which means that the impact that you intended to have doesn't kind of reach the ground level, and so things just end up spiraling more and more. But these days I'm finding that a lot of people, especially in London where we're at the moment, there's just a lot of people who are trying to use their abilities, use their knowledge to feed back. Like I was randomly bumped into someone the other day who was looking to create a charity to help kind of rehabilitate child soldiers and give them kind of education.
Okay.
But specifically them. So how to kind of use what you have for good, effectively, and to give them tools to not just to make something individually, but give them the mentality that this isn't the end of your story. Like you've just started, and you can actually turn your whole story around. And it's I think it's amazing. Just so many people are doing that right now, and not just. And I'm a big fan of doers, like not just like having the idea, which is amazing, not just talking about it, which is great, but just taking the initiative to making a step.
Well, we was actually discussing about being.
Yeah.
So when you become, break down words.
Yeah.
It will come to you.
It will come, and the action is in being.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So
and there's a lot of great people out there who will tell you to do things the complete opposite of how our schools and mentalities tell us. So we kind of taught to be, you're in this spot, so you need to work to get to that spot. But in terms of mentality, I can tell myself that I am, I can tell myself that I am, like whatever that thing may be. And the world just needs to adjust to catch up to that.
That's a great way of looking at it.
That's having a real strength of mind, actually, because the world will tell you other way. The world will try to force you to adapt to the world, so it's a struggle.
It is a struggle to try and be of independent thought, away from what everyone's telling you.
Definitely, but there's a great pattern, and it's so simple a lot of the times. I know there's a lot of. It's funny. I was having a conversation with another friend of mine the other day. When you're growing up, you're taught you can be whatever you want to be, but then no one really tells you how.
Yeah.
And I find for me, one of the first steps was actually believing it as reality, not just as a statement, because you can see it, especially in the social media world we're in, we get bombarded with these motivational phrases, and it's great for a moment, but then without action, you don't really see the results, so you stop believing. But it's just taking little bits of action and being like, you know what, I am great, and I can actually make a difference, even if it's small. And I know it's going to sound like another random motivational quote, but I like I think it was Tupac who said something like, I may not be change the world, but I'll inspire the mind that will
change the world. Yes. We know.
Exactly. So,
shout out to Tupac.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we all have the potential for that.
We do. And it's interesting what you say about when we growing up, everyone's like, you can be whatever you want to be. But the things that we aspire to be are so limited because they're what someone else has told us that is the thing to be. Does that make sense? Yeah. So therefore you get you get disillusioned and your heart's broken when you're not that thing, but you're not seeing the other opportunities, that other things that are your true destiny. So I
think sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, so that's why it's interesting when you talk about being an architect and someone that was a dancer as well, a professional dancer, and then people not quite marrying the two together. But you've still gone ahead and lived that, and you're an example of someone really being who they're supposed to be.
And that leads to me to a question, actually, Andre, the how bit. How is it that you've able to marry the two, in fact, incorporate into one being?
I think first of all, it's the concept that we as human beings are not just one thing. I think like you do these personality tests, for example, and they give you like a thing which is great. Like 75% of it may be right. But if I was to characterize myself, I couldn't say I'm happy because sometimes I'm not. I couldn't say I'm an architect because sometimes I'm a dancer. I couldn't say I'm an athlete, because sometimes I'm a couch potato, beings. And I think the first step for me was to recognize that I had more than one interest.
Right.
I had more than one interest, but there's no reason why I couldn't pursue them both. My mum is my greatest inspiration, and one of the...
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
We like that.
She's my superhero, I call it. Because she did a PhD in hydrogeology, and she's raised 2 kids.
Say that again, please, Andre.
Excuse me, skirt. Go back.
Sorry, yeah. So she got a PhD in hydrogeology.
Hydrogeology.
That's right.
Do you want to give us a little tagline to break that down for us a little bit?
Okay, cool. So if I was to break it down, so the route she took is obviously you go to school, university, you get a master's in chemistry, and then the area that she looked at was water and rocks. If I was to break it down, it sounds really simple, but especially if I was to link it to architecture, you wouldn't have a house that stands without the knowledge of what you're building on.
Wow.
So she did a PhD in that.
That's amazing.
She was a research scientist, so she would be in the lab and be testing all these formulas and all this kind of stuff. So she's very academic in that sense. She works with numbers, which means arguing her is very difficult.
Because everything's logical.
very logical in that sense. But yeah, like she's, in terms of how she's worked hard, she had a vision. She came from Sierra Leone to England to kind of pursue that vision. She completed it, and now she's lecturing, and she's done that while being a father and a mother. She's done that while singing in a choir that tours. She's done that while, like, do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's no limit to her capability, and it's funny. I said to my brother when he was a lot younger that the only way you'd ever really know what you as an individual is capable of is if you put your heart and soul and everything you have to every possible thing that you could possibly do in life. And most people, I mean, there's no time in the world. Like, you could be talking to the ultimate tiddlywinks champion right now on the phone. Like, I could be amazing, but I don't know because I haven't really pursued it. And it's the same with dance and architecture. I could have said to myself, which I heard a lot, leave the dance thing, focus on architecture,
right?
Vice versa. But I just chose not to. And then once I made that decision, I had to figure out how. So I had to become really good at managing time. I had to become really good at being productive with the time I did use. So
that's great. That's really great.
And so that leads us to something else that you're doing. We mentioned it earlier. We mentioned it last week. I don't know how you managed to fit it in. You don't work with 24 hours.
You mustn't.
Have you seen Interstellar?
How do you get sleep in?
You seen Interstellar, Andre?
The movie Relative Time.
Yeah, Relative Time, because we deal with 24 hours. We need to fit in things like, I don't know, sleep, eating.
Yeah, sleep. I miss that.
Oh. No, you must make sure you get your sleep. So important for your health.
So what is this other venture we've been doing? To elaborate on it for us?
Yeah, so it's called Find Me a Class, and there's two. I think, like I said before, creativity is being able to solve a problem. And when I was in, this is story time, right?
Yeah.
So when I was in, I went to visit New York, and as a dancer, especially as a hip hop dancer, it's like the mecca for hip hop. Really, it's where it all began. The Bronx, you know.
New York.
When I went to visit, sorry, go for it.
No, I was just doing an impression of the New York accent, but it was really
don't worry, Andre.
Poor.
Yeah, don't worry. Just please don't. Yeah, I'm sure you come across that in the dance world as well.
Yeah. So it's like it's the home of it. It's where it started. So I went there expecting to take some dance classes, rates and stuff. I was really excited. But then when I got there, it occurred to me that I didn't know where to look.
Okay.
And, so I went on Google, like anyone in that scenario would probably go. Search engine, everyone knows. And the only things I could find were either really big dance schools, which didn't really look legit in terms of the hip-hop classes I saw.
Okay.
Or nothing really. I saw like little posts here and there, but there was nothing that really caught my eye, because I guess the more you get into something, the more you learn to recognize what is the real deal, I guess, and that's what I was looking for. When I came back, bearing in mind I only took a couple of classes, Broadway Dance Center, shout out, they were awesome. But when I came back, I realized there were loads of different things I could have done while I was there, and in my head I was like, why couldn't I find them when I was there? I used Google, for crying out loud.
Okay.
Yes.
But then as my journey continued, I realized the way Google works is based on a lot of algorithms. It's based on search engine optimization. If you don't have a website and all that kind of stuff, you're not going to be seen. It's based on backlinks and people tagging your website, and Google uses these kind of programs effectively to understand who is valuable for a search. So if I type in hip-hop dance school or dance class, you don't have a website, or you haven't optimized it, or no one's actually linking back to you or anything like that, then you won't be seen. So that kind of concept kind of laid in my mind. But I've also had the other side of it, where I'm the teacher.
Right.
I want people to come to my class. And there have been times where, and as a student, you don't really realize this, but a lot of the times we as teachers, we book the venue with our own money, right? So let's say, for example, the studio hire is £35.
Yeah.
£5 per head. If you only get, say, 6 people, that's £30. So I end up paying £5 to cover the studio, which
So it's a loss.
it's a loss, yeah. And so you had all the preparation for building up the strategy for the class. That time obviously is money. Your travel to and from the place, your everything like that. But then you end up spending effectively more than the students who came to your class. And it's gotten to the point where a lot of dancers are experiencing this, a lot of studios are experiencing this. And as much as people want to go to these classes, they're closing down because it's difficult to maintain it. And so that concept stayed in my mind as well.
So you've come up with a solution.
Yeah, so the solution is it works like, kind of like, I guess, Uber or Tinder or any of those things where you can open it and see whatever resources in your area. So in this case, it's classes. So the idea is you open up the app and it will show you, the first thing it will be is a list of classes near your location. So you can decipher what kind of distance that is, whether it's 4 or 5 miles or just the one. And then you can search it. So, for example, if I want to be specific and I want to look for a hip-hop dance class, then I can search that. If I want to look at, I don't know, belly dance class, I can search that. But then also, what I've tried to do is make it so it's not just dance, not just fitness, but anything. So if I want to learn Spanish, if I want to, I don't know, go to a business course, if I want to learn how to do SEO so I can focus on my website, then I can find venues and classes where they do that in my area. So that's the basic idea of how it works.
Excellent. And that's the Find Me a Class app.
Find Me a Class.
Find Me a Class app, everyone. So yeah, that is such a clever idea.
It is. You saw a gap and you used your own personal experience to look to plug that gap. It's excellent.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, it didn't start like that. It started with little drops and just little things I noticed. I think for any entrepreneurs out there, one piece of advice I'd give is just to be aware. Just kind of, I mean, as an entrepreneur, you're seeking problems to fix, but just be aware of little things. So, for example, in this scenario, I could have easily just been like, this is a problem, and that's it. But it was a problem that was costing me money, I guess.
Right.
So I really wanted to think of a way to find a solution there. So I did a lot of research and all that stuff, and I find something that works. But one of the reasons why I pursued it is I remember being in my old workplace, and there was a group of colleagues there who used to always do things together in groups, and it was random. You'd do random stuff. Like they'd be like, "Okay, guys, I just found like a mountain climbing class. Do you want to come?" Or one person will come the next day and say, "Yeah, there's a tap dance class on Thursday," or or there's a cake baking class on Saturday, and that's why I decided to expand it, because hypothetically, there's a lot of times when anyone would want to learn something new. Sometimes you don't really have a preference. You just want to do something. You want to meet people, or you've just moved house and you want to integrate to the local area, anything like that. So, I mean, thought that going down one route would kind of limit it a little bit.
Yeah, it's an excellent idea, and it's very positive as well, because, I feel we're more, the society, as the years go by, we're becoming more reliant on technology in terms of sitting at home, laptops, not really interacting with people on our phones. I mean, this is a good way for entertainment purposes, yeah. And this is a good way to use technology to actually get back to being human, which is learning and interaction with others.
Definitely, and I think because another thing of, like, behind the whole thing is the concept of building relationships between the class and the people. Because one of the other qualms that some students have, I don't know if it's in other industries, but in the dance, like, you go to a class and for that hour it's amazing, but then that's it. and then you go again the next week, and you're effectively investing your time in yourself, but also in the teacher. But there's no feedback. You don't necessarily know if you're doing better than you were the last week unless you know them personally, that kind of thing. So there's functions within it that will actually help you communicate with your teachers. It's kind of like a whiteboard almost. Like they'll be able to put resources in. They'll be able to like give feedback on classes. They'll be able to put class footage up, that kind of thing.
Within the app, you have all these different functions. So it's not just finding the classes; it's actually trying to connect the teachers with the members. That's really good. So yeah, it gets the I don't know, the spirit of like community and all of that, builds all that back up, doesn't it?
Yeah. I'm a sucker for people.
And that's an amazing thing. We all need to be that way. So we understand you have a campaign going because the app is not actually out yet.
No, it's not. It's being built at the moment. Well, it's not being built yet. The campaign is to raise money for it to be built. But there's a campaign. It's on Indiegogo. So if anyone's out there, you can go to indiegogo.com and search "Find Me a Class" app. I would say that as opposed to like the long thread, because the thread really is long. So I would say go to indiegogo.com and then search "Find Me a Class" app. And it has some of the screenshots from the app is on there. It's got a description of what it is. It's got a little video with me talking about it and stuff like that. It's going slow, but it's picking up, which is great. And at the moment, I think that there's about 4 ways that I'm kind of opening up for people to be involved. One of which is obviously the Indiegogo, which for each donation, if you want, there's perks, they call them. So you get something in return, whether it's being part of the kind of like the trial group when it comes out, so you'll be the first to use it, to having a year subscription, for example, if you're a teacher. So there's lots of different things that you can get on there. And
so if you donate a certain amount of money, you'll be able to actually be affiliated with the app, the creation of the app.
In different ways.
Depending on how much you put in. So there's incentives in this, in actually helping this coming out of the development stages.
Definitely. And I mean, some people just want to help, which is great. But one of the reasons I like Indiegogo is because they gave that option to give something back. So I think there's about 10, 11 options of things you can do.
Okay.
And ways to get back. So it's kind of like starting to build that relationship. And it's one of those things where if you get number 5, which is more expensive, you also get number 4, 3, 2, and 1.
Right.
It works like that. Yeah. So that's the Indiegogo campaign. That's the donations. But then there's also investors. So I'm also speaking to a couple of investors at the moment, which is great, having great feedback. One of the good things about the app so far is that I haven't had to convince people too much.
No, it's an excellent idea. That's why.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm really happy about that. So speaking to the investors, so hopefully I actually have something at the end of this week. So fingers crossed for that.
Yeah, we're willing it for you.
Definitely. I think for me personally, no matter what happens, it's going to exist. Like I will not stop until it's out there. So,
vision has been set.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And the 2 other ways you have donation, investments.
That's right. The other way is joint ventures. So for people who have, let's say for example, you're a big heavy hitter in your industry, then I'm seeking to build relationships with those people. So finding something where it's a mutually beneficial relationship. So not necessarily a partner or anything like that, but whether it's for example you're a dance studio and you have hundreds of people on your mailing list, then you would get a page in the app, and in return, when you email those people, you have a link for the app just to let them know that you exist on here and we exist and things like that. So really simple back and forth relationships that can benefit us both. So those are joint ventures. And then the last one is literally just to spread the word.
Okay.
So, whether it's links, whether it's through conversation, whether it's getting people to get in touch with me.
Whether it's Galaxyafiwe Radio 102.5 FM.
Exactly. Do that. So, so those are the four main ways people can kind of get into things.
Okay, that's excellent. So this ties into our general theme of, Stella's Black Study Group has a support Black Friday, where on Friday, Stella, you encourage your members to.
Yes, Andre, you still on the line?
Can
Andre?
you hear me?
Yes. Sorry. Yeah. Yes. I have an ongoing. Black Study Group have an ongoing campaign which is looking at the idea of Black economics, which is about us empowering our own people, our talented individuals, such as yourself, where we actively promote Black businesses. On a Friday, we promote businesses all day, every day of the week. But what we're trying to do is change the mindset of people into understanding how they must reinvest in their own first, and the reasons why it's important to do so. It's not about excluding other groups, but it's about looking at all the different issues that we face as a race,
and generating self-empowerment,
and generating the self-empowerment, so self-sufficiency. So it's not about now we're saying, please, we need equality, we need this, we do demand equality, but we also can do for ourselves to better our situation. So one of the ways we do that is through having resources, having access to money.
So how important is it to you of this idea of self-support, self-sufficiency?
Yeah, definitely. I think
as an entrepreneur as well.
Sorry, what was that last bit?
As an entrepreneur as well.
As an entrepreneur, As an entrepreneur, I can tell you for free it is important. I think in terms of what you're talking about, I think there's two sides. There's the supply, and then there's the help. So you've got, let's say, in the concept of a business, so you have Black businesses, which is great. I think there should be more, and we'll probably get onto that in a second. And when you do see these businesses, I think it's obviously beneficial to support them, especially if it's something you believe in. So a good example would be something that is useful to everyone, like food, cosmetics, all that kind of stuff. Is an obvious one that we see, but it goes across the board. So, for example, if I go to, there's back in Reading where my mum lives, there's a Ghanaian-owned store called Freddy's, which is awesome. They're just great people, and they're the first place I go to when I want food, in terms of whether it's plantain or rice, just because not only is there's no real difference for me in terms of how much I'm spending if I go there or somewhere else, but also because I know that they put themselves out on a limb to create a business, to make better of themselves, and one of the things that I find important about the concept of business is to support the businesses to understand the customers. So in this scenario, it's a Ghanaian-owned store, and they do mainly West African foods, but they do everything else as well. But I know that if I go there, they can answer my questions, they can give me advice, and they actually care what I think. I can give them feedback, you know what I mean? And I can build that kind of, it's like I said before, the relationship aspect.
That is so important. I have to agree with you, because that's what Black Study Group BSG are trying to build on, the relationships with the store owners, the people with their different businesses, and put across the importance of that sense of community as well. So that's not lost. There's a connection there. There's a reason why you want to go shop at that place. Because you have a relationship. There's a relationship there. They're supplying you with something that is important to your life and your living. And that is definitely one aspect I agree wholeheartedly with.
And I think as well, there's the other half, which is getting us into business as well.
Yes, yes. Sorry, we just got a caller. But yeah, carry on. Andre? Hello? Okay, I think we've just lost Andre on the line. I'm just going to see if we can get him back on the line. Do bear with us. Okay, so, I mean, while we try and get Andre back, I'm just going to talk to you a little bit more about the idea of the Buy Black Fridays campaign, which we run with Black Study Group. So every Friday we encourage our members to actively try and go out in the community and see what's out there where black-owned businesses are out there. Maybe they're new and just coming into the fold, or maybe they've been there a while and long-term established. A lot of the listeners here probably already support this movement, but there's a lot of people in the mainstream that are buying into other companies which really don't need any support from anyone. They're fine on their own. They're massive conglomerate, massive businesses that will do fine without our custom. We need to invest in our own African people so that for many reasons. The one reason that Andre just spoke of there, we're rebuilding that connect with each other. And we know that where we're buying from, there's an actual sense of brotherhood and sisterhood, people that actually care about each other. But the second thing is investing in our people. So, when we talk about circulating the money amongst ourselves first, what we can do then is have access to resource to actually building some of the institutions that we know are missing from our communities, so that we don't need to any longer be begging the system that as it is to be sorting all the problems out. We can actually do for ourselves with money, with resource that we've created for ourselves. So for example, if we're all pulling our money together, if we all support one store. So for example, there's a store opening up in Croydon called the Caribbean Shopping Centre, which is one of our campaigns that we're going to be doing for about 6 months as Black Study Group. When they open, we want to try and encourage our members, at least 100 of them, to actively shop in that space for at least 6 months, so they can generate up to over £204,000 in that 6 months that will go back into that business through just 100 people shopping at around £86 per. We've lost our caller. We lost Andre on the line. So we need to try and get him back. But I was just explaining to the listeners about the Black Study Group's Buy Black campaign with the Caribbean Shopping Centre. So based on the spending of the average family in the UK of £86 a week, if 100 members make sure they shop in this store for 6 months, it would be up to, I think, just going from the top of my head, over £204,000 that would be generated. So what can happen with that money? Well, that business is definitely going to stay in business. And also, if we built relationships with the shop owner, we're able to now invest in other elements of our community, like education, like centres for our people. Yeah, so this is why understanding black economics is important. It's not about excluding ourselves from other other people socially. It's not about that. It's just understanding that to get things done, we have to do for ourselves. It's about self-sufficiency.
And we have Andre back online.
Andre's back.
Apologies.
Hey, I'm back.
Oh, Andre, that was terrible. Where did you go? Welcome back. Okay. So yeah, you were saying about the other reason why it's important to you.
Yeah, because I think we need to. I think it's probably off the back of what you were saying just now. Is to teach ourselves that it is an option. Because I know there's a lot of business owners out there, but I know when I was growing up in school, it wasn't really something that was an option. Like, I never went to a careers meeting in school and they would say, hey, you can work in this place, or you can also start your own business. Like, it was never thrown out there. So my mindset is only now I've taught it to be like that through things I've read.
Yeah, so it's definitely, that's very important, having that knowledge that you can own your own thing, do your own thing, like create. You don't have to work for another person.
Yeah, the definition of self-sufficiency.
Yeah, because that's Damon Dash was talking about this.
Damon Dash, Dr. Boyce Watkins.
On I don't know, did you catch that, Andre Brght, on the Breakfast Club? I think he was on.
Yeah, I did, and I think he probably could have. Delivered his message
in a more softer manner.
Yes,
more palatable.
He's trying to ram it home. These DJs have been on there for like 20 odd years or however long it is, and they haven't got their own radio station. I mean, come on.
Yeah. But I mean, ultimately, what he was saying was, I mean, behind it all was effectively true, in the sense that if you're working for a company, you can't hand it down to your kids. It's not in your power.
Where's his legacy?
You own the company. It's not technically yours, so you can't do whatever you want with it. You can't decide you're going to sell it. You can't decide you're going to develop it or put it down a certain market. Only the people at the top have those kind of the authority for those kind of decisions. But there's no reason why we can't be there. And I think I would love to be in a generation where hearing that a company is owned by someone who's black isn't a surprise. Like, it should be just the same as anything else. Like, the same as if it's by someone who's white or Jewish or Asian or anything. It should be just, okay, cool. So what's your revenues like? It shouldn't even be an issue. But I feel like the only way we're going to get there is if we're represented. And if we're represented, it means that we need to be doing it.
Yes, exactly.
We need to be supported.
Exactly.
We do, and in the mindset, how are you finding it easy to get people on board with? I
mean, you said it started off
that
slow.
Support side.
You said, so how have you managed to build up momentum?
I think I find it. It's funny when it's free, you get all the support you like. as soon as something costs something, that's when they kind of, oh, okay. And one of the things I've learned personally is that if I understand the concept that if something costs £10, but I can get £50 out of it, I'll do it.
Right.
It's an investment. But then a lot of the times people don't get to the point where they think like that. They just see it as £10. And unfortunately, that kind of mentality isn't going to push us very far. Because unless you invest, and it's something that the rich understand, it takes money to make money, as they say, right?
Right.
Unless you invest in something, it's difficult to expect the kind of results you're looking for.
Well, it's like planting a seed, isn't it?
Exactly. It's like planting a seed. It's like anything, effectively. Like, time is just the same. If I want to be successful, I have to invest time. And I can't expect to be beating right next to Usain Bolt on a track if I don't go out for a run every now and again. It's the same thing. Like, I can't expect the end product without going through the same rigmarole, the same task, the same investment that those people went through.
And the rewards are great when you finally do see the end result, right?
The rewards are ridiculous. Like, especially if you have something that other people believe in as well. I mean, like I said, I'm a people person. So if it's something that can help other people, I feel much happy about that. If I can see it making a difference, I can sit back and be like, yeah, but also in terms of your own gain, if it's something that you believe in, then you'll be supported. So one other thing that's important about business, obviously, is it is a financial industry. So freebies and stuff only go so far.
They do, and
Yeah, and it's the psychology, because we find that a lot of our people currently will spend, but what are they spending on? And like you said, the rich very much understand there's a difference between spending on depreciative.
Depreciative, you mean things that lose in value? They go back.
I was going to say assets, but they're not assets. It's just depreciative goods, and then
Or
you
bads.
have or bads, and then you have like things that you can invest in, that your money can reap this reward.
I think it's important to bring it to even the biggest picture, if we can go there, and think back to what Usifo Jalloh was saying earlier about land being the key thing that we all need to be investing in.
Land and resources.
And thinking of for our futures. So I know about you, Nat, but I'm happy to be knowing this architect.
We will be using you, Andre. We will be using you for sure, because we've got big major plans.
We'll put it like that, but we'll be talking to you, let's say. That's a nicer way of saying it.
Yeah, using your skills, your assets.
No, it's funny, thinking about the whole land concept. It's very true, because I was in a meeting the other day. I can't obviously say names, but we had someone in the meeting who's the person who owns the land. And so this big retail store is effectively asking this individual if they can build on it. Like, that's power, right? And to get to a stage like that, you have to have the mindset where I'm not going to spend it on, I don't know, a bigger house. Like, because I don't need one. My house is big enough, probably, you know?
Yeah.
It's just me. I don't need to upgrade every time I get a new paycheck.
Right.
There's no need for that. It's just extra. Like, for me, one big thing that flipped my head was the concept of what actually is an asset versus what actually is a liability, which is what we were talking about earlier on. So the asset is something that builds you money. Liability is something that takes it away. There's a lot of misconceptions between the two. Understanding that is a first step, and
it's a good step.
Is definitely something that's an asset.
It's a fantastic. It's been such a pleasure talking to you, Andre. And you know, the idea, not even the idea, it's actually happening. So the app, Find Me a Class app, is launching. Hopefully, what's the kind of date span in your head?
Well, definitely this year. I'm aiming for September.
Okay.
How, the meetings in the next few weeks go.
So, listeners, you can go on Indiegogo. You can find Andre Brght on Facebook. You type in Andre Brght. Any other connects you want to give out?
I'm on Twitter as well, Andre Brght.
Andre Brght, so Andre.
Andre Brght into all of them.
Bright. Yes, so you can find all the information in detail about the app. And if you want to, connect with him on an investment level, I'm sure he'd be happy to hear from you as well. And
the other 3 other stages as well.
Yeah,
if you want to support. Even this is simple. I feel spreading the word. Even if you just hear it, there's nothing to spread the word.
That's the most minimum we can do to support each other. But it's been lovely, Andre, and we're sorry to wrap up the call at this time. We could talk to you forever. Because it's really nice vibes, positive what you're doing. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, me too, man.
Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
No, it's great. Thanks for coming on, and we'll catch up.
Before you go, actually, Andre, are you going to be dancing anywhere anytime soon?
Funny. I actually I'm in a show this weekend, Friday and Saturday. It's at The Place in London. It's a contemporary conservatoire. So if anyone's at The Place, there's a show called New and Notable.
Okay.
Just look it up on Google, and you'll be able to find me there. It's going to be a great show. It's going to be good. So that's The Place. It's called. It's in King's Cross kind of area.
Okay,
fantastic. Well,
and you'll be putting out on your Twitter as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's going to be all over that.
All right. Give thanks. Thanks so much for your call and your time, and enjoy the rest of your day. And yes, we'll be definitely supporting that campaign long term.
Yes.
On the Find Me a Class app.
Right.
Thank you.
Right.
Yeah. Blessings, Andre.
All right, you too.
Peace. That was fantastic. That was really, really good. I mean, it just makes me proud. That's the word I used, because these are the kind of skills that we need to tap into. There's so many talented young brothers, young sisters. Not even just the young thing, because we do get hung up on the age all the time. There's talent.
Big man, this.
There's
big woman.
There's a pool of talent out there that could see the shift in what we want to happen for our people happen today. It's about investing in our own. It really is, and making sure they feel that support from family, from friends, associates, everyone. We can all pull in together and see these changes that we dream about, we talk about. It's action, and the action is, putting your money where your mouth is. That's one thing. When we say about investment, it is monetary as well. Like, people don't really like to accept that side of helping their own. But as Nat mentioned earlier, it's the mindset thing, because there's other things you'll spend your money on happily that is just a waste of money, because you're not investing in your people.
Yeah, it doesn't,
coming back
apart
to
from that, in and of itself, of that moment, generally speaking, there's a lot of money wasted.
There is. And I've just got to say, big up to my cousin Mel. She's tuned in all the way from New York City.
What?
Say hi.
International. Big up Mel.
She's doing some fantastic stuff. She's done on this American tour that she's been on. We miss you, girl.
Inspiration for the voyage to motherland.
Very, very inspirational journey. And just top of my head, that the pictures you've been taking are so amazing. They could work in a book. So just a little idea for you. But yes, and wanted to also just shout out to Serena, who's running a class. Serena is one of the singers in Native Son, who we played earlier. Native Son, who will probably be fading out to in a moment. She's running a class this weekend, which is, I'm just getting the information up for you, which is £60. There are 7 spaces available. It's wild stitching sewing workshops, where you get to create a contemporary kimono, and that's going to be June the 21st this weekend. I think that's Sunday, 10:30 till 12:30. If you're interested in that, you have to go to www.wildsugar, which is SUGA.com, wildsugar, one word.com, to get the details for that. Really beautiful sister. She's doing this wild stitching sewing workshop for anyone that's interested in fashion or anything like that, and learning a new skill. So that would be something that would be on the app, wouldn't it? The Find Me a Class.
Yeah, that ties in.
It ties in nicely. Yeah. It's been lovely being here. We had such an amazing storytelling.
If we could have like 10 hours, it would fill it up properly. And actually, we've got our own voyage to motherland that we need support.
We must emphasize, going back on the point, we're on a mission, and we do need to raise a set amount, which is £10,000 by August. So we've worked out the maths. If we can get 500 people just paying £10, then we will make our target by that time. So we're putting in the work to get that, because it's a very important mission that we're on. We're trying to dispel the myths about the motherland,
plaguing many of our minds,
to attract a lot more Andre Brights and people such as him to going back to invest in their own land, their original land where they come from, and dispelling all those myths.
And on a spiritual level, to connect back to the motherland, what it would do for us, our self-esteem as human beings, our identity.
That's right. So if you're interested in supporting us,
which you should be,
go to www.voyagetomotherland.wix.com/voyage.
Or you can find us on Twitter on
Stella Belgam,
how do you spell?
which is Stella, STELLA BELLGAM. Doesn't sound very Nigerian, but it is.
Or you can find me on natnai.com, NAT New Year's Eve.com, and then you'll find the EP. You know, support the artists. We've got some incredible artwork that we produce all the time, and you, like we say, always got to support that. Up next, we have Ras Ezekiel.
Ras Ezekiel in the building.
Bup.
Gonna be with you till
8 o'clock.
So, with that, give thanks for your time, listeners. We'll be with you next week.
Yeah,
Blessings.
4 to 6. Blessings. Nat 9 Stella Belgam signing out. Galaxyafiwe, the only Dean brainwashing station. 102.5 FM. But.
Finally, I started off in the game as a learner. Amateur, I pulled to a burner. Then they call me Bucky D, head turner. Everybody here is a fame searcher. Only one's gonna make it as a burner. 13 years old, I'm still a learner. And I won't leave the game, not a lurcher. And lyrics pulls like Game Boy.